Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are watching this film. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our show focuses on everything that is happening in the city of Brownsville and its surrounding areas. We have been coming on to try and keep our community up to date with everything that is going on in our local area. Here on our show and on our pages, we focus on local politics. We talk a little bit about life and how we want the very best for our local community. If this is something that you can see yourself following, supporting, make sure you like this feed. Also, we ask that you follow us on YouTube. We could be found under Frankie Olivo TV. Our goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And this would only be possible with the help of each and every one of you. So please, if you haven't already, make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV. Again, we stream live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. on Facebook and on YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in. All I ask of you is that you create your own an account and subscribe to our YouTube page. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy Friday, TGIF, the day in which all of us have been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. It's here. The weekend is here. We have Mother's Day set for tomorrow. Tomorrow and Sunday, we got Mother's Day. So the moms, we will be spoiling our mothers for this weekend. What else? Also, yesterday there was a bit of confusion as to whether the city of Brownsville will be having an Amazon distribution center. Our former mayor, Trey Mendez, did make the announcement, which pretty much blew up on social media. Everybody was saying, "Oh my God, Brownsville is transitioning. Now we are a hip city. Not only do we have SpaceX, now we have another billionaire and another multi-billion-dollar company, Amazon." Well, not so fast. We saw how our current mayor made posted on social media that even though that there's rumors of some big company coming down to Brownsville, it is still too early, and that when everything was finalized, they will come and make the announcement. So people were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Mayor Mendez, former Mayor Mendez, already posted it. Is this legit or not?" According to Mayor Mendez, that he had known about this for several weeks, but attorneys finally gave the thumbs up, which ultimately said that Brownsville, in the 511 area, will be having an Amazon distribution center. The nearest one here in the Rio Grande Valley is the city of McAllen, but for whatever reason, they'll be closing up shop. I believe they are building one, if one hasn't been built already, in Sherryland. And now we think it's going to be built in Brownsville. But I just thought that was funny how we have our former mayor come up, make the announcement, only to have our current mayor say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 not so fast." It kind of seems like if he said, "Hey, I'm the one in charge. Whenever we're ready for big news, I'll be the one to make the announcement." Today, Lozano, we'll be talking about Zamora versus Cardenas. We'll make the argument as to why we think that each candidate should win. On Monday, and again, yesterday I said that we were going to be focusing on bringing in new characters to the show. What I want to do, chat, is I want to keep this fresh. My fear is that I am going to be like Snoopy's or Charlie Brown's teacher, where all you're going to hear from me after a while is wag, 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 wag. I want to avoid that. I've had the benefit of and the pleasure of having many individuals reach out to me and say, "Hey, if you ever need a guest, if you want to bring someone on, give a different perspective on whatever subject matter you'll be addressing. I'm free. So today, Lozano, we'll be talking about the runoff race in District 4. But on Monday, we'll be having Mr. Louis Tijerina, a former candidate for District 4. He is a realtor slash developer. And I want him to talk to us about the likes of Amazon. He did campaign on the idea that West Brownsville, at one time, if not possibly, maybe still on the table, how West Brownsville might receive an HEB, and how good would that be to that community? So again, I'm going to try my best to invite people from all walks of life that give us a different opinion, because at the end of the day, I do not want y'all to feel as if this is one-sided program. No, we're not biased. We always try and present the good and the black, the good and the bad, even the ugly, the black and the white. We try to avoid the gray area. Our goal is that we want to present both sides of information, and we hope that you, the viewer, ultimately decides what's in your and your family's best interest, and you be the one to decide how you feel on certain subject matters. That is my goal. I am trying to follow the footsteps of my former predecessor, my beloved predecessor, who he gave an open door invitation to candidates, to individuals that wanted to be in front of the world, that we call the city of Brownsville and Cameron County. So today we'll be talking about the runoff race, Zamora versus Cardenas, why we feel as if each candidate has a good chance of winning. But on Monday, we'll be having Mr. Louis Tijerina, a realtor slash developer, who could possibly give us better insight into the Amazon deal. Who is best to talk about it, other than Mr. Louis Tijerina. So on Monday morning at 9 a.m., Mr. Louis Tijerina should be on with us, unless he has a pressing matter. But as of right now, Mr. Louis Tijerina will be on Monday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Manny. How's it going? Any plans for the summer? Nice to see you on. I hope you have a good day. Good morning, Ms. Garcia. Buenos días. Gracias por estar aquí entre nosotros. Espero que usted y su familia tengan un lindo viernes. Y antes que nada, pues feliz Día de las Madres. Es un día muy especial para usted y para todas las madres lindas en el mundo. Y tienen 2 días que van a celebrar. Mañana por ser Día de las Madres en México, y al igual el domingo que nos cae aquí en los Estados Unidos. Gracias por su presencia, Ms. García, y espero que tenga un lindo día. Rosas, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yesterday you talked about how dogs, you and Rafa were going back and forth in regards to dogs. We can talk about that sometime next week. But thank you so much for tuning in. Currently, right now, the city of Brownsville is in the middle of runoff races. 2 races, the candidates did not meet the 50% plus 1 vote, which caused them to be in a runoff. We have the city at large position, where we will see Ms. Nudith Galansky, former commissioner, will be challenging Mr. Roy de los Santos, who is the current city commissioner for precinct 3, if I'm not mistaken. They will be in a runoff, but also we have District 4. We have Ms. Daisy Zamora and Mr. Pedro Cardenas that will be facing off in a runoff. How do you feel, chat, about our current politicians? Is it fair to say that every politician tells us what we want to hear? Is it to where they play that political role where they try to be politically correct and they address important issues, and they always side with the masses, right? Because again, they don't want to go up against people, especially during election time. Do we have candidates that tell us what we want to hear? At the end of the day, every campaign, we feel as if candidates are fake. We as voters, well, I'll share this personally. Me as a voter, I try to connect with a candidate. I try to visualize that individual in that elective office and say, will he or she address the needs of the people? Whatever that individual, whatever that candidate campaigned on for X amount of months, will they pull through and fall in line with the agenda that they promised the world? It's very easy for individuals to tell us what we want to hear. At the end of the day, that's what you call a barbero, right? Because they do not want to lose the vote. Now, maybe to possibly to one side, they'll be saying, oh, yes, 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 I'll do this. But in secret, they're probably telling the other side, no, 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 don't believe that. I don't feel that way. I'm going to vote this way. It's a fine line that many individuals walk. And it's difficult. Sometimes we've heard throughout this campaign how some individuals, I've even stated, sometimes in runoffs or maybe even during the campaigns, it's as if we elect the lesser of two evils. This is something we always hear, right? No, that candidate, man, he's bad. He's got XYZ. You know, he said the D pick. He promised us this, and then he didn't come through. Or he provided chicken plates. That's all he did. What is he going to do in office? Again, we all have heard this rhetoric of broken promises. We can go back years and show how this candidate didn't come through. They ran on a certain platform, and when they went into office, they did total 180. So today we'll be focusing on District 4 and talk about how each candidate has a good chance. And again, if we look at the numbers, who can forget? Who can forget how close this race was? When we look at the respective races, and again, this was a very, very close race for just about these races that are in a runoff, because at the end of the day, what we have found was that the voters came out to vote, and it was a very, very close race. It is interesting to learn how this precinct 4 race was very narrow. The percentages, if I'm not mistaken, were in favor of Mr. Cardenas. We saw how he brought in 33% of the vote. Miss Zamora narrowly came in second. And again, if we look at the race as a whole, we have been talking about how every vote counts. And it's important for us to recognize and talk about this issue. When we look at the District 4 race, we see how 2,600 people came out to vote. Out of those 2,600 people, Pedro Cardenas received 33% of the vote. Ms. Daisy Zamora came in at 31%. She was behind him only 44 votes. And again, even though people do not believe it, every vote counts. We've been talking about voter apathy. It seems as if people, for whatever reason, we've talked about the numerous reasons why we feel as if individuals are just disenfranchised with the idea of voting. Many people think, it's already rigged. Why do I need to go out to vote? You and I can agree, looking at these figures, Pedro Cardenas, 880, Mike Rodriguez, 582, Daisy Zamora, 836, Luis Tijerina, 344. Looking at these numbers, you and I can agree that every vote counts. And we expect this election for District 4 to bring in possibly 12 to possibly 1,500 voters. Because again, if it's hard to get individuals to come out and vote in April and May, how hard is it going to be to bring them out to vote in June? It's very, very difficult. But again, these are two very formidable candidates who have serious backing from the community. We see how Pedro Cardenas recently received some endorsements that we'll be talking about momentarily. Daisy Zamora, it is well known that she is being supported by Mayor Cowan and current commissioner, Gowan. Is that going to take her over the hump? We'll see. The biggest problems within District 4, and District 4, as I study this leading up to Election Day, this is the district that is bound to grow exponentially. Because whenever we look at the city of Brownsville as a whole, Tucker, there's nothing else to be built. There's nothing else. There's nowhere else to grow. Now the city of Brownsville is moving west and north. We are already on the border with Olmito. Sooner or later, our growth is going to be to where we're going to be at the footsteps, at the door of the city of Los Fresnos. But the problems facing District 4, the only one that I could think of right now is Highway 77. You have businesses out there. You have taquerias. You have restaurants that have been suffering because of Highway 77. For many, many years, this has plagued the city of Brownsville. They did receive a grant, if I'm not mistaken, from TxDOT in the millions of dollars that we're finally starting to see progress on that street. But as of right now, that project won't finish until 2027. So those residents that live in that area, those businesses that operate there, they're going to struggle. I did speak to a business owner who did state, man, I'm having trouble because of parking. I'm having trouble because logistically people see the mess that is Highway 77 and they avoid it. So I'm losing money. And I said, well, is there anything to do? He's like, no, the project should end in 2027. Hopefully by then I'll still have my clientele. Hopefully my faithful customers will still be coming to me then. Am I going to make it? And I said, well, are you? He said, I hope so. But District 4, Tucker, to me, is the district that's going to benefit the most. If we talk about all that area, the hardware store was just recently built. There's gas stations that are going to be recently built. Luis Tijerina talked about how an HEB, there's a possibility that an HEB is going to grow out there. District 4, whoever wins is going to benefit and is going to reap the benefits of growth, because the city of Brownsville right now, currently, it's landlocked. There's nowhere to grow but up. But again, we're not a skyscraper, right? We don't have the luxury of having those. We have the city of Brownsville impulse industry rezoning in residential areas. Millwide is an example of them rezoning their areas from C6 mixed residential to industrial. I'm going to be very honest with you. I am not aware of the current logistics, the current zoning for District 4. Luis Tijerina, again, will be on with us on Monday, and he would be a better spokesperson in regards to District 4. Again, he studied it. He ran for that position, and we'll be able to ask him. So, Tucker, make sure you tune in on Monday. I know you will, to pose this same question. There are certain areas in which we are landlocked. The districts aren't equally developed like the other development or developed appropriately with the proper infrastructure and needed businesses. Again, District 4, whoever wins is going to benefit from it because they will be building, they will be growing exponentially. It's going to be important. And remember, the venue, the famous venue, was going to fall in District 4. When we talk about that possibility going out the window, is that going to severely affect District 4? Possibly. We still don't know the direction in which Madeira is going to go. Again, the city of Brownsville did annex Madeira. They're in 90 million. They got into an agreement to give $90 million for the development of Madeira. But the caveat for Madeira was, or the caveat for District 4 was that the venue was going to be built in District 4. And we could already imagine if the voters would have given Madeira that venue, everything would have been built over there. We're talking about entertainment districts, plazas, hotels, restaurants, bars, nightclubs. If the venue would have been approved, development in District 4 would have gone up like crazy. When we talk about how the candidates feel on the venue, it's going to be shocking for us to learn how they really felt behind closed doors. And we're going to be addressing that throughout this program. But it's important. It's important for us at the end of the day. Ms. Presa says at the end of the day, leaders are supposed to focus on the needs of all citizens. Again, what are the needs and concerns of District 4 voters? District 4 is bound to see lots of growth in the very near future. So again, tune in on Monday. Monday, we'll be having Mr. Louis Tijerina. We'll be talking about the District 4 race and the opportunities that District 4 should see down the road. Start caring about District 2. Linda Macias, listen, she is way better than the witch that endorsed her. We'll see. Miss Macias has been involved lately. She has been vocal. She has previously been outspoken and raised money for the Asanam Center. She was recently on social media talking about tires, how residents, if they show proof of address living in the city of Brownsville, they can dispose of tires or possibly any waste or any trash that they have free of charge at the city dump. So Miss Macias has been vocal. She has been out there for her precinct. Ms. Presa said the city of Brownsville annexed without property planning and without seeing the needs, financial budgets, and yearly expenditures. Again, chat, today we'll be talking about how the candidates, how will they fare, and who we think has a better chance to represent District 4. When we talk about Ms. Daisy Zamora, Ms. Daisy Zamora was very impressive in her election. She received 31% of the vote. She brought in 836 voters, which is very impressive for her. Now, she, on paper, is more than qualified. She is a doctor. I'm not sure if she deals with nutrition, if she's an MD, but she has a doctorate's degree, and she's being backed by a current commissioner / doctor. When we talk about Ms. Daisy Zamora, she is more than qualified. It is apparent that she has the support of the mayor and the strong support of Commissioner Gowan. Is this ultimately going to put her over the edge? Does she have what it takes to pull through? Yes, she does. She has all the advantage in the world, because when you talk about an incumbent and you narrowly came 44 votes away from being the top vote getter in that race, is very impressive. It's important for us to recognize that Pedro Cardenas is in a battle because Daisy Zamora has all the qualifications. She has what it takes. She has leadership behind her. Now, if this election, was in November, we could possibly say that Pedro Cardenas would have won in a landslide, because at the end of the day, Mr. Pedro Cardenas is a politico. If you've ever met Mr. Pedro Cardenas, man, he makes you feel like you're his friend. He makes you feel great. He's like, hey, nice to meet you, Mr. Cardenas. Wow. Para hablar, es muy bueno. Tiene perica. Maybe all politicians do. But when we talk about Miss Daisy Zamora, the thing that could be against her is how Martinez is talking about PUB and Tenasca. If you talk to a random citizen of Brownsville and you talk about PUB, what do you think they're going to say? Without even going into details, just say, are you satisfied with PUB? What's your history with PUB? They're going to say, me robaron. Le robaron a los ciudadanos. They promised us the project of Tenasca. We're back in 2012. They said that the city of Brownsville was going to generate electricity and going to sell it to Oklahoma and other states. And the city of Brownsville was going to benefit from it. But we have to raise your taxes. What do the people say? This is a win-win. We should pay taxes in order for us to build this $100 million plant facility to generate energy. And the way the world is going, ladies and gentlemen, energy is the new wave. When we talk about solar, when we talk about electricity, that is what the new world will be all about. The only thing that affects Ms. Daisy Zamora is her being on the PUB board. I am very proud to say that Erasmo Castro was the only individual that put his money where his mouth is. He did file a lawsuit against PUB. While he was successful, the judge voted in his favor shortly before his passing. Erasmo Castro was the only one that on paper, he received something on paper that said, you won your case against PUB. Can you imagine that? How a citizen of Brownsville was able to beat the likes of PUB? Because again, this is a multi-million-dollar entity. PUB has controlled and monopolized the city of Brownsville. We have been yelling at the top of our lungs that we want competition. We see how the school vouchers are now just recently signed into law. And in 2026, parents will have the choice. At the end of the day, you and I can agree, having choices in life is a good thing. Actually, it's the best thing, right? So for many years, PUB has had a stranglehold on the citizens of Brownsville. While me personally, I have Magic Valley. I live right outside city limits. I still use PUB for trash, and I forget for what else, water, forget for what else. But for the most part, these citizens of Brownsville that live within city limits, they have only one choice. Love you, my man. They only have one choice, and that is PUB. And whatever their rate is, whatever their bill is, they have to pay. If not, you get cut off. Simple as that. Competition is good, but the only thing that affects Ms. Daisy Zamora is that she is on the PUB board. Again, when you talk about Tenasca, what do we feel? Individuals such as Susan for the People did file a freedom of information request, public information. And in those documents, she brought to light how millions and millions of dollars were spent on contractors, on consultants, attorneys, even after the fact that they knew that this project wasn't going to come into fruition. When Susan for the People published those documents, everybody was in uproar. Everybody was saying, what? These people knew that this wasn't going to happen and they still billed in the millions of dollars? If you ask a resident what they feel about Tenasca, what they feel about PUB, they'll tell you they robbed us. Now, the city of Brownsville, they don't want to talk about PUB because, oh man, that's already a done issue. What do they say? You received a credit of $200-300, even though we stole hundreds and millions of dollars from the citizens of Brownsville. Yeah, get over it. Here's your $200. Be quiet. They don't want to talk about that. Heck, even our mayor ran on the campaign of getting to the bottom of Tenasca. If we look at John Cowan's platform when he ran for mayor, he talks about how in 2011 the Tenasca project was introduced, how the city approved it, how he demanded transparency back in 2019. He was elected to form new audit committees. And when he ran or when he announced for his quest for mayor, how he uncovered the Tenasca fiasco and he informed the proper authorities. Do we believe that? Did we see the mayor be an Erasmo Castro and demand transparency? At the end of the day, Mayor Cowan ran on the platform at the very end in 2023. It says, John Cowan announces his candidacy for mayor and sets as his number one priority to lower your PUB bill. Did Mayor Cowan? Did he lower our bill? Did he give the people what he wants? What we want? We want to be made whole again. Did we feel that from our mayor? No. Again, Tenasca PUB is an issue that the city of Brownsville does not want to talk about. This is an eyesore. This is a black eye for the city. We don't want to talk about that. How will that affect Miss Daisy Zamora? Do the citizens of Brownsville care about Tenasca PUB? Is that a done issue? Is it, oh, well, we got screwed? What's the next project in which we're going to get screwed on? Do the citizens of Brownsville remember Tenasca? Do they remember PUB? Has Daisy Zamora publicly stated that she being on the PUB board, that she was going to make us whole again? As of right now, that Tenasca deal is over and done with. We could complain and throw a fit, cry on the floor, throw ourselves on the floor, but that issue is done with. But does it affect Ms. Daisy Zamora being on the PUB board? Possibly. And that is something that Mr. Pedro Cardenas might want to be more vocal about. Hey, you're on the PUB board. Make these people whole again. If you had the power to change something, why didn't you do it? What, you need the city commission position in order to make change, to cause waves? No. Be vocal for the people. Maybe this is something that Mr. Pedro Cardenas will be addressing in his quest to be victorious in the landslide. Now, when we talk about Pedro Cardenas, again, Pedro Cardenas is a politico. He tells people what they want to hear, and he does have the support of the St. Joe alumni. And we all know, make no question about it, those individuals that are in the St. Joe Mafia, as as many people call them, they're educated. They come out to vote. They pull through. If you are a St. Joe grad, a St. Joe alum, your chances of getting elected are pretty high. And depending on who you are, but for the most part, Pedro Cardenas does have the support. They do have the support of St. Joe alumni. Does that benefit him in this runoff? Yes, absolutely. that benefits him greatly. We know his people are going to come out to vote. How will that benefit him? We recently saw how his former opponent, Michael Rodriguez, has openly endorsed Mr. Pedro Cardenas. Now, this is a little bit tricky because Michael Rodriguez ran in this race with the understanding that Pedro Cardenas was going to be challenging Commissioner de los Santos in the Commissioner at Large race. It seems as if Mr. Pedro Cardenas miscalculated the support that he was going to receive. Nurit Golonsky would not have been in that race if it wasn't for Pedro Cardenas. The idea was that Pedro Cardenas would be in the at-large race and he would receive the support from the mayor. Again, the only reason why Nurit Golonsky jumped into the at-large race was because Pedro Cardenas decided to stay in Precinct 4. Again, individuals, once they realized that Pedro Cardenas wasn't going to be in that race, they openly endorsed Michael Rodriguez. But what happened? Once Pedro Cardenas said, no, my bad. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay in my race. Well, those individuals that openly endorsed and supported Michael Rodriguez, they said, oops, I'm sorry. I'm now going to endorse. I'm now going to endorse Mr. Pedro Cardenas. You have some candidates. Again, what is promised when people get endorsements? And I'm not saying that this was offered or this was given to this certain individual, but the realities of campaigns. What happens? They say, what do you need from me, from my camp, from my team, in order for you to endorse me? Would you like to sit in a board within the city? Do you have campaign debt? Or is Michael Rodriguez simply endorsing Pedro Cardenas because that's the people? He is a people's person. He is the best qualified to represent District 4. We also see how Alejandro Garcia, an individual that made waves in the at-large race, he brought close to 1,700 voters. And he ultimately forced a runoff between Golonsky and De Los Santos by having the endorsements of Michael Rodriguez and Alejandro Garcia. Is that going to take Pedro Cardenas over the hump, over Ms. Daisy Zamora? The only thing that is going to affect Mr. Pedro Cardenas, in my opinion, is the idea of the venue. Yes, you heard that right. Many people during the election were focused on the venue, and they openly asked each candidate, what's your stance on the venue? Do you support it? Yes or no? We all heard that because, again, the venue was and will continue to be a very controversial topic. Individuals have been openly stating, why do we need luxury when we have so much need? Our roads need to be fixed. Our streets need to be cleaned. Give us our necessities before you present us with a luxury. Now, how did Pedro Cardenas vote in regard to the venue? How did he? Well, did he? Only one candidate publicly against the venue? Again, candidates, Danny, will say what we want to hear. What are you against? You're against the venue? Oh, okay. Yes, I'm against the venue. But over here in secret, hey, what do you think? It's a lot of millions of dollars. What? How do I vote? Yes. All right. Yes. Again, políticos will tell you everything and more. I want to present the what happened back in March. In March, the city of Brownsville had their commission meeting on March the 4th. And in that committee meeting, if we go down to the very bottom, again, right here, March the 4th, City Commission meeting. If we go down to the very bottom, we'll have an interesting item on that agenda. We see how Daisy said she was for the venue on Daniel Salinas. Interesting. Again, what individuals say in public and private is very important. When we look at the city commission agenda, we see at the very, very end, chat, possible action on any items as discussed in executive session. Now, what is executive session? Executive session is discussion, dialogue with the city commission and their attorneys behind closed doors. And on that day, behind closed doors in executive session, the agenda item reads consideration and action, if any, to approve resolution number 2025-034 regarding the multi-purpose arena to be constructed in Cameron County. Now, an individual that reached out to me and said, look into this. Even though Pedro Cardenas stated in the public that he was against it, behind closed doors, he was telling other individuals that this is something that was beneficial for Brownsville and for Cameron County. And in this resolution, the city commission voted unanimously. So how could a candidate vote one way, but then openly state that he was against it? Is this a case to where Pedro Cardenas, to the public, once he felt how the people were demanding for this to be no, because again, for the third time, you're coming to us voters after we told you no. Is this to where Pedro Cardenas saw the climate? Again, he did come out and state that he was against it. But how did he vote? Again, the commission voted unanimously on whatever was discussed behind closed doors. Now, again, why was this discussed behind closed doors? Wasn't this an issue that was very important for the citizens of Brownsville, for Cameron County? Shouldn't this issue have been addressed in the open? Camarlinga says transparency with residents is very key. Why didn't they do it out in the public? Now, we understand that because the city of Brownsville annexed Madeira development to the tune of $90 million, maybe they did have questions in regards to the logistics. Is this something to where Susan states that, you know what, maybe they got more information? But I'll make the case, Susan, for the people. They had their due diligence. Again, these individuals have attorneys that are giving them the pros and the cons. Do we want a politico that's going to side one way, was going to vote one way, but tell the people something else? Because again, politicos study the environment. They study the climate. Ooh, what do the people want? What do the people want? PUB. Mayor Cowan. PUB. Y'all want PUB? PUB. Yes. My platform is I'm going to lower your PUB bill. I'm going to bring to light the fiasco, the Tenasca fiasco. I could show you again. Politicos do a great job of supporting items that are important to the people only for convenience. Now, is this a case to where Pedro Cardenas voted one way in March in regards to the multi-purpose arena for Cameron County, but once he felt that individuals were very vocal against it, well, he was like, you know what, maybe sabes que no. What do you want, people? You do not want the venue? Pues I don't want the venue either. Again, how should we measure our candidates, our representatives? What they say or what they do? An important person that I love tremendously always told me, actions, actions speak louder than words. Is this a case to where Mr. Pedro Cardenas, in executive session, again, this was unanimous, meaning everybody voted in favor of it. Behind closed doors, everything's good. Who's campaigning these candidates? People with the big bucks, developers, realtors, contractors. Was this a case to where behind closed doors he said, yeah, but once he felt the people and their resentment towards Cameron County Judge Eddie Trevino, because right now Eddie Trevino, to the eyes of the Cameron County voters, he's public enemy number one. Everybody, if you go on, people will say, when is he coming up for election? When where we need to vote him out. Again, this is not me saying it. This is the people. Why? Because Judge Eddie Trevino stated, I'm putting this on for a third time because it is in the best interest of the community. What do the community say? We don't want it. We do not want it. Is this a case? Are we seeing Pedro Cardenas say something to the public, what they want to hear, but behind closed doors, it's something different? Are we shocked by this? No. We showed the platform of Mayor Cowan. His number one priority was lowering your PUB bill. Now, I may not be the very smart man, but I do know one thing's for sure. PUB is just as expensive, if not even more expensive, than when Mr. Cowan came in. That was Mr. Cowan's number one thing. Why? Because he felt how people were outraged by this. The people want somebody to talk about PUB and somebody to be their champion. I'll be your champion. Politicos, tell us whatever we want to hear. What have we seen since Mayor Cowan got into office? Did he even address the PUB issue? No, they just swept everything under the rug. You got $200? Be happy. You got $300 credit? Be happy. That's it. It's over. Again, políticos will tell us whatever we want to hear. Is this the case with Pedro Cardenas? Behind closed doors in executive session, in a unanimous vote, did he say, yes, this is good for Brownsville? At the end of the day, this is his district. According to Michael Rodriguez, he presented data that showed that District 4, the voters in previous elections did vote in favor of the venue. Again, having data is very important. And based on that data that I was presented, it showed how District 4 residents in previous elections in regards to the venue voted yes, while Northern Cameron County shot it down. Is this a case as to where Pedro Cardenas saw that data and said, my district voted for this? So behind closed doors, he says yes. But once he started to hear people, Susan for the people, talk about the disadvantages and the red flags that this venue would bring, he probably said, you know what? Maybe it's best I say no. Politicians, Tucker, politicians have always been grifters. They will tell you what you want to hear, but whenever you leave, they'll do the opposite. Actions speak louder than words. How do the voters feel? How do you feel, chat, in regards to this? Is this a case as to where we're picking the lesser of two evils? On one side, we have Daisy Zamora. Daisy Zamora, who is being endorsed by the mayor. She's being endorsed by Commissioner Gowan. We anticipate her forming a majority, if elected, with the mayor. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what these politicians care about is the number 4. You have to get your number 4, because if you don't, you're not going to do nothing. If we talk about the BISD board right now, well, right now it's a standstill. But talk to those individuals in the minority. They can't do anything. They can't pass their agendas without the magical 4. How do you feel, chat, in regards to this? Are we picking a lesser of two evils, as a pundit told me? On one side, you have Deis Zamora, who currently sits on the PUB board. Has she been vocal? Has she been a champion for the city of Brownsville? Has her time on the PUB board uncovered irregularities in regards to the overcharge and the theft that the city did to the citizens? Or is she just another, yes, ma'am, I will do as I'm told? It's a question that needs to be answered. Again, we know that the PUB issue is dead. It's over. They've already. And what did they find? Heck, the CEO was allowed to retire. They gave the woman that was appointed to lead PUB, they gave her a raise, if I'm not mistaken. What, you thought the district attorney was going to do something about this? Heck no. It affects Ms. Deis Zamora for being on the PUB board. It affects her because she wasn't vocal about this issue. Maybe the people would have sided with her a little bit more. Again, Deis Zamora is strong. I don't want to mislead anybody. She is strong, and she has a very, very good chance to be victorious in June's runoff. Very, very good chance. Would I be surprised if she wins? No. She has strong backing from politicos. We talk about Mr. Pedro Cardenas. He recently received the endorsement of Michael Rodriguez and Alejandro Garcia. Is that going to take him over the top in the runoff? The only thing that affects Mr. Pedro Cardenas is the venue. Because according to data, District 4 residents were in favor of the venue. Again, think about it. If the venue would have been approved, District 4 would have been booming like crazy. Development would have gone skyrocketed. Hotels, restaurants, plazas, bars, the nightclub, the entertainment district would be in District 4. Can you imagine the dollars? Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Again, whoever wins District 4 is bound to receive a lot of development, because currently the city of Brownsville is landlocked. The only way to grow right now is West Brownsville. Is this a case as to we see how politicians flip-flop? Is it surprising that it happens? Money talks, and everything else walks. How do you feel, chat, about these two candidates? Who will you be endorsing in the runoff? We have Zamora, who has the backing of the mayor and Commissioner Gowan. Or will you be voting or supporting Pedro Cardenas, who is a St. Joe alum? His people will come out to vote. Does it make you think anything different if Ms. Deis Zamora is currently on the PUB board and we haven't heard a peep about the Tenasca fiasco? Does it bother you that Pedro Cardenas behind closed doors voted one way, but in the public he's saying another? He knows that District 4 would benefit from that venue. Who wouldn't want a development? He wouldn't have to do nothing. Cameron County would have done everything. Can you imagine that? You being a politico, not having to raise a finger because Cameron County was going to spend $300 million in your area? And you mean to tell me that he was against it? Again, I may not be a very smart man, but I do know what love is, Jenny. How do you feel, chat? Who will you be voting for? It is Friday, May 9th. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You get 2 days to be spoiled. Well, you should be spoiled every day, but on paper, it is Saturday and Sunday. Feliz Día de las Madres a todas las madres lindas. Esperamos que tengan un lindo fin de semana. Y gracias por todo. Thank you so much for your time and your attention, ladies and gentlemen. Again, reminder, on Monday, we will be having former candidate Luis Tejerina for District 4 on Monday. We will be talking about how he feels about the candidates. Will he be endorsing a certain candidate moving forward? So on Monday, we should have a great show. I will be trying my best to get different personalities from all walks of life, because at the end of the day, I want this show, I want this platform to be where individuals come for information. I don't want this to be a Frankie thing to where you feel as if I'm being biased on certain key issues. Again, the role that Good Morning Brownsville has is that we want to present the good and the bad, the black and the white. We want to stay away from the gray area. We want you, the community, to take it all in, and then you decide how you feel on certain matters. Once again, thank you so much for your time and your attention. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't already, make sure you go sign up to YouTube. Subscribe. Have a good weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.